In the last couple of days, we have been covering Manipur and Manipur clashes. In fact, we've been covering for the last 2 months, but in the last couple of days, we have been doing intensely. Now, a couple of questions that popped up. One is, why couldn't the police control the clashes in Manipur? Weren't they capable enough? Didn't they have weapons? Didn't they have manpower? Why weren't they capable? 2.5 months and still the clashes are on. Two, we wanted to figure out as to, are the cookies solely responsible for the poppy cultivation in Manipur? Are they to be blamed? Like it is being made to sound? Is that fair? That's point 2 I wanted to understand. The point 3 I wanted to understand is, where did this weapon come from? Are these weapons coming from other countries? Our neighboring countries? Are this coming from within the country? Where are these weapons coming from? These miscreants seems to be having quite sophisticated weapons. So these are 3 questions that I've been constantly asking, and I wanted some answers to them. And today I have a very eminent guest. Eminent because I have Miss Brinda, who was the Assistant Superintendent of Police in Manipur. Miss Brinda is a person who actually called foul against the Biren Singh government. And I'll tell you why. Miss Brinda was a person who actually waged war against drugs. In fact, she was offered the gallantry medal for this fight of hers by the Chief Minister himself. She waged war against drug, and incidentally, she caught a drug lord whom the Chief Minister, according to her, the Chief Minister pressurized her to release. The Chief Minister ensured that this drug lord was released from the prison. Brinda gave her gallantry award back. Currently, she has joined politics. She works with the Janata Dal United, and she is known to be one of the most honest and one of the most straightforward officers in Manipur. So I'm going to talk to Brinda, try getting answers to all these questions, because I'm sure she's the most qualified to answer all these questions, and that's what this interview is all about. Let's get right into the interview. Namaskar. Ms. Brinda, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. And in fact, I am quite honored to have you. Like I told you before the shoot, and I tell you on record, that I'm a huge fan of yours. I've been following your work, and I really admire the kind of work you do, ma'am. So let's get into the show. As a professional police officer, and one of the good ones at that, tell me, do you think if the police wanted, could Manipur violence be controlled?
Absolutely. It should have been controlled. If the police really wanted, if there was command from its home minister, then it should have been completely controlled.
What was the problem?
What went wrong is that, command and control, there was something wrong between the command and the command that was given on the home department. So we have to find out what went wrong in the command there. What was the command from the home minister, who happens to be the minister of the state, on the state police with regard to the violence that broke out? Where was there the so-called intelligence failure, and why did the police fail to respond effectively on time when they had ample opportunities and the time before things went out of control?
Would it be intelligence failure, or would it be looking the other way?
See, there cannot be intelligence failure as claimed by the government, because violence of this magnitude cannot happen overnight. And this should have taken days and weeks for its preparation. And being the border state, there are multiple intelligence agencies of the state and the center out in Manipur functioning. And as the head of the state, the minister should have been informed of any, intelligence of any untoward incident that might come up from time to time. And what's very surprising is that nobody has, brought up to the notice of the public till now, is that on the 3rd of May, when the day the incident broke out, there was this rapid action forces everywhere in Imphal town. And that was the day the violence broke out in the by noon, and the later part of the day it had escalated. So later on, the minister said that admitted that there was anti-intelligence failure. So what I noticed on that day was, I particularly remember what was the scene in Nepal on that particular day was, uh, there was rapid action forces everywhere in Imphal town, because I took my son for his last chemo to the hospital on that day. It was around 10 o'clock. And then I was surprised to see so many rapid action forces on the road, on the highway, and on the streets of Imphal. And I wondered, what is wrong? What may be the law and order situation that we are suddenly seeing these central forces in town. And then when came back from the hospital, that was in the afternoon, then there were many more number of rapid action forces. And by evening, things had escalated, and it was all over the news that violence had broken out in Churachandpur. And later on, because of effective response from the government of Manipur, things went out of control, and it took a communal turn, and it went bloody. And in the later part, the minister admitted that there was intelligence failure. So as a police, my question is, if there was intelligence failure, then why was there deployment of rapid action forces in Imphal on morning of 3rd of May?
Another question I want to ask you as a police officer. When an incident like this, where you paraded two innocent girls on the streets, an incident like this can go unreported, can go without an FIR? Does it ever happen?
No, it cannot go. It cannot go. If the law and order is in place and the police department is working effectively, then it will never go unreported. This is the worst form of crime. It should be reported, and in a violence as this, it's a serious violence, and in such violence, women are naturally targeted, women and children, and the women are always sexually targeted in all forms of violence, including war. So that should have taken adequate care to protect the women, from being targeted sexually, from being abused, and which they refused, which they failed to, and they even did not take cognizance of the case on time. And we should find out if the government and the minister had information of this video beforehand, because they should have, because they claim that police have been functioning, quite well, and they have been taking care of the law and order. And this kind of sensitive incidents and the reports that have been there, within the purview of the government.
So the fact that the chief minister says I didn't even know about this, that is what he had mentioned. I just came to know about it recently. Is there any credence to that statement?
If he doesn't know about serious matter as this, then he's not fit to be in the chair. Then he should give it up to somebody else who is more fit to be in the chair and who will be able to control things. That's
Correct.
a total lie. He was using internet. He was using Facebook. He has access to internet. How can he so blatantly lie to the public when the public is suffering so much, when the whole world knows what's taking place here? No, that's not acceptable.
This entire thing about where does this miscreant get their guns and weapons from, ma'am? Is it coming internally? Is it being taken internally, or is it coming from some external, some other country?
See, for both the communities who are warring on each other, they are being armed. And, for both the communities, weapons are coming in, as it has been reported in national media. Also, truckloads of weapons have come into Manipur clandestinely. It has been there, reported many times. So weapons are coming from outside from Myanmar, that is automatically from China, and weapons that have been looted from the state armory. It has to be under the cognizance of the state home minister, who happens to be the state minister. Without his actual, active consent, patronage, this amount of this magnitude of looting from the state armory could not have taken place.
Is it that simple to loot from a state armory? I mean, is that how our police functions?
So that's the question. See, police are armed, police stations are armed, battalions are armed, they are guarded, there are sentries over there, and there is still intelligence. And the state had already broken out in communal class, and people were starved already at that time. And the state home department should have taken adequate care to protect all its battalions and police stations. So, looting state armory so easily is not comprehensible if it is not without the approval of the concerned home minister.
The state had declared war on drugs, which is very nice. But the fact is, somewhere down the line, the Cookiezo community thought that they were targeted. You are one person who won a gallantry award, and you are the only person, only police officer to win a gallantry award, and you have been fighting, waging a war against drugs all your career. Tell me, ma'am, is it all Cookie's fault that poppy is cultivated in Manipur?
See, number one, this so-called war on drugs, it's never there. These are just claims, eyewash, to show to the world that the government of Manipur is doing something. If the head of the government is seriously doing its war on drugs, then first thing is something that we have always been forgetting to recollect, that he should not have pressured me into letting off an arrested ADC chairman whom I arrested with lots of drugs and case and arms. He should not have pressured me at all. And he facilitated the acquittal of the whole arrested lot. And there it was already proven that this minister is not concerned about the effects of drugs on the society and the state at large. So under the table, he is actively protecting and patronizing them. So there was never war on drugs. Everything is a hogwash, and this is simply proven by the fact that no kingpin has been arrested in any of these cases so far. Who are the kingpins that have been arrested? We have to investigate that. We have to do an inquiry on that. And number two, for poppy plantation, it's a huge mafia, mafia which are in which the government, many politicians and many drug lords, including the government of Manipur, at many different levels because of its nexus with the militants and the suspension of operation. And yes, not all the cookies are responsible for the poppy mafia, but majority of them, and most importantly, the mummies influx that have been pumped in to the state of Manipur for this poppy cultivation, funded by the whole drug money, are responsible for the whole poppy mafia cartel and influx. Influx is very alarming in the state, because we are not blaming the native cookies who have settled here in Manipur for a long time. All the communities are taking part in the drug cartel, be it the imported drugs or the poppy cartel. All the communities in their respective capacities are taking part in it. But in terms of proportion, yes, proportion is very high from the cookie community, especially from the influx in terms of labor and in terms of the control of the areas under poppy cultivation. That is true. And its nexus with the militants, which are on suspension of operation, which are all cookies.
Ma'am, you arrested a kingpin. You were pressurized to let him off. What was that, ma'am? Can you tell us that incident?
Yes, I arrested former ADC chairman from the Hill District. The chief minister ordered in the very next day. The chief minister ordered me to let him off in exchange of his wife and his son, because he turned out to be the right-hand man of his second wife, Olive, who is the elected MLA from Chandel constituency right now. And he actively pressured me, and he pressured the DGP to order me and my ST to remove the charge sheet from the court so that the accused would be let off on bail, on the completion of the mandatory 180 days of submission of charge sheet, failing which the accused will be automatically let off on bail. So this is what took place.
So obviously, blaming the cookies for this wouldn't be viable, isn't it? Because it is the ministry.
Blaming the cookies is very wrong. Collectively blaming the whole cookies is very wrong. Not all the cookies are involved in it. Just like all the other rest of the communities, we all are participating, be the natives or the indigenous or who are coming from outside. We are all taking part in the drug mafia in varying capacities in different proportions. Clubbing all the cookies together as the blame for war on drugs paramount to shrugging off the responsibility of taking care of things effectively and dividing people on communal lines, and the effect of which will be borne by the present generation and the future generations, because we are not dealing with the issue effectively, and it is serving only the interest of the few and those in the government who want to perpetuate their government and stabilize their seats. It's the only purpose we are serving.
Last question to you. Why did you give away your gallantry award? What was the feeling inside? What made you hand over such a prestigious award? You were the only person who got it from the narcotics section, weren't you?
Yeah, when because of the case that that I cited before, the accused were, blatantly acquitted. All the trials were blatantly acquitted, and the chief minister expressed that he was satisfied with the outcome of the case. So I felt that I was not and no longer fit to hold to that, honorable medal that would have made me feel that I was letting my state and the people of Manipur down by holding on to that medal anymore, because I failed to deliver justice to the case that I worked so hard and in which the people of Manipur had so much faith. So eventually I had to return it. I was better without it.
I really hope, ma'am, your words becomes inspiration for a lot of youngsters who are looking at police and administrative services. I hope your words become inspiration for that. Thank you so much talking to me, ma'am. Thank you so much talking to me. Indeed, a pleasure talking to you.